Hi, I'm Vince Sanders, founder of CBD American Shaman. In 2012, an uncle who was more of a big brother to me was diagnosed with 4-stage cancer. The doctors told him at the time, we're going to do everything possible with traditional treatments, radiation, chemotherapy, but we have to be honest. Only 10% of the people with 4-stage lung cancer make it 6 months. So you kind of need to prepare yourself and your family. When he delivered that news, obviously I wasn't happy about it. So what I did was literally glue myself to Google and start doing all kinds of lung cancer searches. I just knew there was something, not FDA approved, but that was somewhere. It was Mexico City, it was Switzerland, there was this magic pill that we were going to get and save him. As the weeks went by, I failed to find the magic pill. But what kept coming back in my searches were cannabinoids, and specifically CBD, which was amazing because the initial searches, when those would come up, I'd be like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, pot cures cancer, all right. So, and I'd just click on through. But as time shrunk and desperation set in, I more focused, well, what do I have to lose but to pay attention to this? So I started digging out the research on CBD, a lot of which existed even in 2012, both in Israel and Spain, and some in England. And started realizing, this is legitimate science. There's a lot of potential here to, if nothing else, prolong his life or make the suffering ease. God willing, actually kill the cancer. At the time, there was no CBD. You could find THC in plenty of places, but CBD literally did not exist. And the best place to harvest it was from hemp. At the time, you couldn't grow hemp in the United States either. The only way you could get it was to import it into the United States, which was a fairly complicated process. Time was of the essence, so I couldn't do any of those things. So logically, I reasoned that cannabis and marijuana obviously are the same plant. Marijuana has simply been bred for higher and higher psychoactivity for centuries. As the plant produces more and more THC, it robs its ability to make other cannabinoids. So if you do a cannabinoid profile, you see very little of the other cannabinoids and you'll see a huge blip for THC. So it seemed to me if I got really, quote, bad ditchweed, that I would be much closer to hemp. So I literally went on a quest to telling everybody I knew that, hey, I want the worst marijuana that you can find. I want the absolute ditchweed that will get no one high. Of course, everyone thought I was insane, and I'd explained to them why I wanted it, and I still think they thought I was insane, and I honestly didn't think it was ever going to happen. But within weeks, a lot of material came to me. So I did a rough extract. I just put it in a food processor and turned it into basically a flour. We soaked it in ethanol, agitated it, and then we filtered the leafy material out and placed the alcohol in a rice burner and evaporated it off, and just literally with a credit card scooped up the black resin left behind and sucked it into syringes. Then he would take those and just administer them throughout the day. We had no idea what was in it or how much he should take, or it tasted horrible, as you can imagine. So as he got used to it, he was able to take more and more. But early on, the flavor really ran him off. But came to where he was just taking large amounts, several times an hour, was literally shooting some of the syringe in his mouth throughout the day, probably every hour. 30 days in, we had great news. The cancer had quit growing. We're like, well, that's awesome. Of course, we have no idea that we're responsible for it or traditional medicine. 60 days in, there's no cancer in his brain, and it's dying in his bones as well as shrinking in his lungs. And 90 days in, he's basically in remission. So, of course, the doctors we haven't told them anything. They're like, my God, you're a miracle. We got to do a study on you. Maybe this is a unique genetic strain that was particularly easily taken care of, or, all this talk. But he would go back every month for scans. And about 60 days later, he went in for a scan, and of course his immune system was gone from the traditional therapy, and he contracted a staph infection, of which he died. After his death, I was convinced that CBD is what had stopped the cancer. So I just set on a mission to actually make it the right way, to find out how to import it, to find out how to really extract it and make true, I hate to use the word because of the FDA, but medicine that could save people. So for approximately 18 months, I spent many hours and thousands of dollars a month just on R&D, just figuring this out, and majority of which of the product you just didn't work and you threw it away. In late 14, we had a couple rapid breakthroughs in the lab, and suddenly we actually had what we had been hunting. So at the time, I had all these ideas, so we're going to sell this on the dark web and save people with cancer and all these things, but I didn't know anybody on the dark web or how to actually accomplish this saving people with cancer feet. So at the time, I was in the business, and I was in the e-liquid business. And we had a booth every year at the ASD show in Las Vegas. In 2015, the ASD show was March 1st. So I was preparing for the ASD show, and still really didn't know what I was going to do with the CBD. We just had it, and it was, figuring it out. And I thought, maybe I could launch this as some type of an e-liquid or e-liquid/tincture, and something really inexpensive that people would pick up, and it worked, and then they'd buy more, and we could grow it. And the more I thought about it, I was like, this is really a health and wellness product. It doesn't really belong in there. So I thought, it's its own thing. But I still liked the idea, the model of something very inexpensive, and I had the idea in my mind of something that was, $20. I figured people would take a flyer on that. So I started trying to figure out what could we make that would be around $20. I couldn't do that, but I came up with two things that we marketed at $29.99. One was a small 2 ml bottle that you could put in a vaporizer and vape, or you could tincture, and then one was a pre-filled vaporizer. And we're at this point, we're maybe 2.5 weeks from the SD show that we're preparing for. So I go to my graphic artist, and I'm like, okay, I just want to do a little display of this at this show. We have a 20-foot booth. I would just put this in a corner and just kind of flush it out. I'm like, but it's not, it's its own thing. And the only thing that kept coming to me was Medicine Man. And I was like, an all natural feel, just like our marketing and all of our labels and material are now. But I just was afraid of that word medicine. I just was certain that would cause us future problems if this worked. So I sat there and we just started brainstorming, like, what else is a medicine man? What else is a medicine man? And I'm like, and I'm just brainstorming, I'm like, a shaman. Shaman's a medicine man. And my graphic artist at the time, we were making e-liquids in the United States under pharmaceutical standards. Most everything was coming from China, and that was our big deal. Proudly made in America with ingredients and manufacturing processes you can trust. So she just rounded in there and said, well, American Shaman, right? And I'm like, well, yeah. So I kind of paused. I said, CBD American Shaman. She was like, I like it. I'm like, go. Literally, it was just that organic. It was like a 5-minute conversation, and this is how it was born. So, of course, we just had the two little products, so she starts out making art for them and grinding and one little tablecloth, because I could put it on one table, its own little area. But literally, like everything else in this, the whole existence of this company, if there's such a thing as divine intervention, it's been this. And I was just taken, I was just so sure of this that, I decided, well, hey, let's go ahead and make a banner, let's make a tablecloth. We're going to designate half this booth to this product, and I was just confident. And within less than a week of that, I said, you know what? We only go out here for the e-liquids to see our customers that we deal with all the time. It's more of a face-to-face thing. We're not really bringing in new people that much. We're launching CBD American Shaman. So I tell my graphic artist, I'm like, okay, make I want the whole booth. I want banners, tablecloths, convert it. Now, keep in mind, this show's 10 days away at this point. So she gets to work creating all this stuff, and we actually literally get it all printed. I pick up the tablecloths and banners at 5 in the evening the night before we leave to go to Vegas for the show. It was literally at 3 and 4 in the morning putting together product to take. So there was 5 other people besides myself, and we literally carried all the product, the banners, everything on, checked them on the airplane. We got there set up with this CBD nobody'd heard of, nobody knew anything. Once we set up, people would, because of the curiosity, came over and would ask. And once they found out what it was, and we explained why it wasn't illegal and that you could use it anywhere, then our booth became like the booth of the show. Thousands and thousands of people were flocked to it. We literally all lost our voices by the last day. And we're like, oh my gosh, what is this? This is, this was just a guess, a gut feel, whatever, and look at this. We assumed, hey, that we knew that it worked, it was a great product, that all these reorders would come in. Well, that didn't happen because these went to smoke shops, vape shops, head shops, not as much head shops at that point, but that didn't know what it was or how it worked. And there's a lot of education necessary, especially then. And they weren't able to deliver it to them. So when somebody would look at the product and ask, somebody say, yeah, I know it's made from hemp, I don't know. And so these reorders that we were expecting simply didn't come. So we regrouped, when we weren't under the crush of getting ready for the show, and decided, hey, who are we, what are we? And we're a company that is health. I mean, that's what we are. We're compassion. It was founded, the whole reason it existed was compassion. That was to help people. So we felt like, well, where does this belong? And so we started thinking, well, it's health food stores, it's chiropractors, it's naturopaths. And that's the road we started to march down. And because of its tie to, quote, marijuana and that type of thing, we're in the Midwest, couldn't have picked a worse spot. We just had a lot of pushback, but we just kept planting seeds and talking to people and moving forward. And eventually those seeds started to sprout and started to come to fruition. And as they used it, we had incredible results, borderline magic really, and it continued to grow.